Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. I introduced Baguazhang and Xingyi Bagua palm in some of my previous videos. Links are in the description. Today, I'd like to focus on Cheng Style Baguazhang and provide some historical information of this style and its founder. This video will cover the following topics. First, who was Cheng Tinghua? Second, why does Cheng Style Bagua have a special position in the Bagua system? 3. Main branches of Cheng Style Bagua. 4. Demonstration. 5. Lessons learned from Cheng Tinghua. First topic, who was Cheng Tinghua? Cheng Tinghua, a famous Baguazhang master, was born in 1848 and died in 1900. Originally from Shenzhen, Hebei province, he moved to Beijing for work. He practiced wrestling in the beginning and then he practiced Baguazhang with Master Dong Haichuan, the main Bagua promoter in Beijing. I have already mentioned in my previous videos that Dong Haichuan taught his students according to their previous training backgrounds. Dong Haichuan taught Cheng Tinghua based on his wrestling training. This palm technique is called soft palm training. Since Cheng's style has a unique body moving method, which can be likened to a dragon swimming in the ocean. Therefore, people call it the swinging body palm. He only lived for 42 years. So, what happened to him? Well, to answer this question, we have to understand what the overall situation in China was like in the second half of the 19th century. 义和团, translated to English as the righteous and harmonious feasts, or militia united in righteousness, commonly known as the Boxers, was an anti-imperialist, anti-foreign, and anti-Christian group in China. Formed before the end of the 19th century and ended with the end of Qing dynasty in 1911. Many of those 义和团 members practice martial art. That's why people called them boxers. The main style practiced in that group was Meihua Fist, or plum flower fist. It is said that to practice this style, they had to practice the plum stance on wooden poles arranged like a plum flower. This style originated from the area between Shandong and Hebei province about 500 years ago and became popular about 300 years ago. Apart from plum fist, 义和团 members practiced some other styles such as large Hongquan, small Hongquan, monkey styles, all those being northern Shaolin styles. There are different versions to explain the military conflict between the Qing government and some foreign countries, depending on which side you choose to support. Around the 1900s, 义和团 fighters adopted the slogan, "Support the Qing government and exterminate the foreigners," to fight against the Eight-Nation Alliance, which was an army formed by the alliance of American and Austro-Hungarian, French, German, British, Italian, Russian, and Japanese troops. Eventually, the Eight-Nation Alliance invaded Beijing. To protect his neighbors and friends, Cheng Tinghua fought with those foreign soldiers and was shot to death by German soldiers. Before he passed away, he mainly practiced and taught Baguazhang in the south region of Beijing. So people used to call his style South City Bagua instead of Cheng Style. Only about a few decades ago, people started calling it Cheng Style Bagua. In contrast, Yan style, the Bagua style created by Yan Fu, was called North City Bagua because Yan Fu mainly practiced and taught his Bagua in the north region of Beijing City. Also, since Cheng Tinghua passed away very early, he did not have sufficient time to organize his style. Thereafter, many branches of Cheng Style Bagua developed based on his system have different curriculums. We will talk about this in the later topics. So, to summarize, Cheng Tinghua was a student of Dong Haichuan. He created Cheng Style Bagua, which has had a huge influence on other Bagua styles over the years. By the way, the person in this photo is commonly recognized as Cheng Tinghua. However, many experts did research and found out that it was not him in the picture, since his appearance at the time would have been much older than what's seen in this picture. Second topic, why does Cheng Style Bagua have a special position in the Bagua system? First, not influenced by any other martial art style. Compared to other famous Bagua masters who studied with Dong Haichuan, Cheng Tinghua did not have any prior martial art experience. For example, Yan Fu, the founder of Yan Style Bagua, Liang Zhenpu, the founder of Liang Style Bagua, and Shi Jidong, the founder of Shi Style Bagua, all studied Shaolin prior to practice with Dong Haichuan. You may ask, what about his wrestling experience? Well, in China, wrestling, or shuaijiao in Mandarin, wasn't and still isn't considered a martial art. There are many wrestlings or throwing techniques in many martial art systems. However, as I mentioned in my previous video, that techniques alone are not enough to be considered a style. Wrestling or shuaijiao is an independent system parallel to martial arts. This is the reason why many people in the Chinese martial art community say that all the Bagua styles, Cheng style is closest to Dong Haichuan's practice. Second, started circle walking as Bagua's main training method instead of linear or circular pattern stepping. To be clear, circle walking and circular pattern stepping are two totally different things. I have already mentioned in my previous video that in the beginning, Bagua practitioners did not practice walking along a circle like nowadays. Instead, they practiced steppings by following a circle as well as zigzag patterns. Many single movement and linear routines such as 6-4 palms were popular back then. We also know that to practice wrestling, nowadays, people practice on a mat or a pad. However, back to a century ago, there's no such equipment for wrestlers. In order not to get injured, many wrestling schools used a sand pool or sha keng in Mandarin to practice. Cheng Tinghua, a wrestler, had a sand pool as well in his wrestling school. After he started to teach Bagua, there were more and more students coming to him, and it became difficult to accommodate his students if they followed the conventional stepping pattern. To solve that problem, he creatively asked his students to practice stepping on a boundary along his sand pole. As a result, Bagua circle walking became the main stepping pattern. Many people believe that Yen style originally focused on linear routine first, then adapted themselves to circle walking. But Cheng style focused on circle walking and then adopted linear routines as auxiliary training methods. Today, no matter what style of Bagua you practice, most of us only focus on circle walking. In my opinion, this approach is insufficient. I hope those who currently practice only circle walking in Bagua will add some zigzag or circular stepping to their training as well, since those are supposed to be the original stepping patterns. I will demonstrate some of this practice in the following section of this video. Topic 3. Main branches of Cheng Style Bagua. Today, Bagua is the smallest among the 3 internal styles in terms of number of practitioners. However, in terms of number of branches, Bagua has a lot more sub-style than Tai Chi or Xing Yi. There is the historical reason, as I have explained before, that he couldn't standardize the style before passing away. His students had to develop this style according to their own understanding. Also, like I said before, this is the new style and needs to be developed further. Since there are many branches that have been developed based on Cheng Tinghua's practice, I prefer to categorize different branches based on their training methods, instead of the specific historical figures involved in creating those branches. This method of categorization is defined by myself in teaching. Before we use this method to classify the different branches of Cheng style, let me introduce some important names in Cheng style branches. First, Cheng Tinghua, Cheng Tinghua's younger brother. After Cheng Tinghua passed away, he returned to his hometown to teach. His Bagua maintained a low posture. Second, Cheng Youlong, Cheng Tinghua's oldest son as well as the direct students. He moved to Tianjin to teach Bagua. Many practitioners in Tianjin learned Cheng Style Bagua from him. His Bagua's posture was very neutral, a combination of a low posture and a high posture. 3. Cheng Youxin, Cheng Tinghua's younger son. He was 15 years old when his father passed away. Therefore, he mostly studied Bagua from a lot of his father's students. As a result, he knew a lot of different routines and taught a Bagua with a higher posture in Beijing and Tianjin. 4. Cheng Yousheng, Cheng Tinhua's son and Cheng Tinghua's nephew. His Bagua posture was like his father's, with a low posture. 5. Sun Lutang studied with Cheng Tinghua and created Sun Style Bagua. But in my opinion, it is still a Cheng style with his own personal adaptation and variation. 6. Gao Yisheng studied with Cheng Tinghua. People call his style Cheng Style Gao form, a very popular style of Bagua in Tianjin as well as outside of China. In my opinion, it is still a Cheng Style Bagua with some unique practice in the composition of that branch and some interesting training method. 7. Many students of Cheng Tinghua had contributed a great deal to the development of Cheng style as well. Cheng style Bagua can be divided into 3 main categories based on the posture level. First, low posture, taught by Cheng Tinghua and Cheng Yousheng. In recent times, Sun Zhijun was a master focused on this category. He passed away 4 years ago. Second, middle posture. Cheng Yonglong, Gao Yisheng, and some other students of Cheng Tinghua focused on this category. 3. High posture, taught by Cheng Youxin and some of Cheng Tinghua students such as Sun Lutang. Liu Jingru is currently active master focusing on this category. In the beginning of my teaching career, I would teach my students all 3 postures of Bagua. With time, I realized that most of my students found it overwhelming to learn all 3 postures simultaneously, given the differences in movement and applications. About 10 years ago, I decided to only teach them the middle posture, since I believe it is a combination of the low posture and high posture, and this can offer a better result in practice. I studied all the 3 postures of Bagua from different teachers. Based on my personal practice and teaching experience, I have noticed that the low posture is good to practice flexibility. However, since the body structure extends a lot, it is not that productive to develop force required for martial application. The high posture is great for learning movements. However, since the movement is quite compact in high posture, it's also not that easy to develop Bagua force. This is why I prefer to teach the middle posture. I will talk about it in the future. Topic 4, demonstration. Today, I would like to demonstrate an important point in Bagua practice: the angle of the turning. There are 2 types of turning angles here. One is the angle between the front arm and the chest. The other angle is between the waist and the front line of the body. In most Bagua movement, the angle between the front arm and the chest should be not more than 100 degrees. For the waist, there are 3 levels of turning in terms of this angle. There are 30 degrees, 90 degrees, and 150 degrees to 180 degrees. For a beginner, 30 degrees turning is good enough. We often see that some people in Bagua practice turn their body in different angles, and it's correct. However, many of these turns are not correct. For example, the angle between the chest and the arm is too big. Even worse, in order to show that they are turning their body in a larger angle. The angle between their arm and their chest becomes 180 degrees. You can try it and to see which angle is better in generating force. Let me demonstrate it now. Okay, now let's talk about the angle issue in Bagua practice in terms of body structure. We already mentioned there are two types of angle here. First is the angle between the arm and the chest. Second is the waist and the vertical line toward the chest. So to the first angle, it should be not more than 120 degrees. If you more than 120 degrees, then you won't have strength at here. So this angle is the first type of, preferably 120 or 90 degrees. Second type of angle is the angle between the waist and the vertical line. So let's say we keep this kind of posture. I keep like this. Then if I turn to 30 degrees, that's for beginner 30 degrees. But you can turn to 90 degrees between here and the vertical line. Now, if you want to do more, you can turn much more, which is 150 to 180 degrees. The mistake is that many people, they cannot turn the hip. What they do, they only turn the arm. They become like this. So this angle is which is too big. If more than 150, some people even make this as a 180 degree. That is a mistake, because you won't have a force like this angle. So try to maintain this angle and this angle. So keep this kind of posture instead of like this. Be very careful, and you can see most people in Bagua practice make this kind of mistake. Topic 5. Lesson learned from Cheng Tinghua. In my opinion, the most valuable lesson that we can learn from his success story is that integrate private practice without losing the essence of the main style. Cheng Tinghua was a wrestler. However, we cannot see any obvious wrestling movements in this style, including stabbing and throwing techniques. But we can apply wrestling techniques in his style. That's because Cheng Tinghua integrated his wrestling practice into his Bagua. This is the best way to improve a style. I will make more videos in the future explaining Cheng Style's walking and other specific wrestling techniques. So please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post the new videos. Thank you for watching. See you next time and happy practicing.